When I signed on, it said my speaker wasn't working. I assume you guys can hear me. Just give me a thumbs up.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. All right, we'll give it one more minute here. We'll get started. All right, we can go ahead, you guys. Thank you so much for popping on today. So I wanted to take some time and review some various ways to get business in real estate as we are kind of in the middle of a reset in the industry, be it more inventory or a change in interest rates. I will tell you before we get started, this is going to really be the how to get business, which is really, really important, of course. But one of the things that I cover in nearly all of my coaching sessions with other agents is the what. In other words, what do you want to achieve? So I wanted to just remind you that on our website, under business building, there is a really easy to follow, I think, spreadsheet on business building. Here we go. Business planning templates, about halfway down the page. And when you pop this open, it's an Excel spreadsheet, and there's a video tutorial that goes along with it because there's quite a bit there, and a lot of it may not be 100% intuitive. But this will tell you, from today to the next year, how much business do you want to get? What is that goal for yourself? What is the dollar amount applied to that? And then from where are you going to get that? So that's kind of the view at 30,000 feet. I'm not going to cover that today, but I just did want to remind everyone that it is there, and it's a very, very useful tool, if for nothing else, to keep you on track in terms of what you told yourself you were going to do. So with that said, let's launch into the how we're going to do that. So there are basically, in my opinion, two sources of business in real estate. One is short term, so who has the need right now, and then long term. And pretty much the short term I would identify as talking to the motivated. People that are ready to pull the trigger on something between now and the next, let's call it 6 to 8 months. Long term, well, those people are going to be either people that don't have an immediate need, of course, but referral partners. So maybe they're not your direct customer, but they have people that might have a need at some point. So think of your database, your sphere of influence, your dry cleaner, your dentist, your whoever. And so today, in the spirit of, hey, there is more inventory, naturally there should be more business out there. And I am seeing more and more newspaper articles and news broadcasts that deliberately and overtly come out and say, this is the time to buy a home. And the reason is twofold. One is that there's almost 100% more inventory than there was this time last year. And the interest rates, while they are going up, they're not going up at a rate that is prohibitive to someone buying a home. So it really becomes the perfect storm. So I'm going to talk about for sale by owners, expired listings, using Remine, and open houses. Okay, So let's start with Fizbos, and that is for sale by owner. People that put that big red and white for sale by owner sign in the yard and think that they can sell their home. So what's the difference between a Fizbo and an expired listing? Well, an expired listing has already made the decision to hire a realtor. And an expired listing is nothing more than hired a realtor, had a contract to sell the home, home didn't sell. Now it's up for grabs for one of us to step forward and say, hey, you want a fresh set of eyes to tell you kind of why this didn't sell, and maybe I can help you sell it. And we're going to get into expireds in a moment. But versus a for sale by owner, well, they need some convincing, right? They've made the decision to not use a realtor. Okay, so what is the mindset of someone that would go down this road? Well, to them, it's really all about price and expense, and the operative phrase meaning to them. In their own mind, they think it's still a hot market, and they want to save the expense of a realtor, and they want to have the latitude to set their own price regardless of what reality tells them. Okay, but is it? Isn't it really about realizing our value? Okay, they don't want to pay for something that they don't see value in. And so why go after for sale by owners? Well, they're motivated and they're easy to find. You need look no further than driving around your own neighborhood. They can be misinformed. Oftentimes they usually are. And so if that's the case in any situation, you become the expert really fast. They are very accessible. All right. Their sign includes their phone number. And of course, you already have their address. So they're accessible to market to. And 85% of them do eventually list with an agent. Right. It is also, I'll add one more. It is also increasingly difficult to sell your home on your own as the market shifts. Okay. But this is very typical of what's going on today, because a lot of people have kind of missed that window of being able to just sell their home for whatever. And so now people are panicking and still thinking, though, they don't really need a realtor. Let me do this on my own and, quote unquote, see how it goes. So if we believe that we provide the value, what is it exactly that they're missing by not using us? Well, first and foremost, they're missing out on mass distribution through the MLS. So it's not just putting their home in the MLS, it's all the sites that the MLS connects with, and there are thousands of them. And so they're missing that mode by which most people are searching for a home, and that is online. Right? So they are literally relying on a handful of people who happen to drive by their home. Okay? They are going to incorrectly price the home, I guarantee it. So Texas is a non-disclosure state when it comes to the sale of a home, which means you can't go anywhere publicly and get this information. You need to be a realtor. Okay, they're going to have to coordinate showings. They're typically not going to have open houses. They have zero contract knowledge, so they expose themselves legally. And there is an inverse relationship between their learning curve and figuring out how to do this on their own and the public's interest in that home as time goes on, right? So it's very similar to when we list a home for a client and they insist that we list it high, and because they think we can always lower the price. And while that may be true, once you pass that 2-week mark, the interest in that home diminishes not by a little, but by a lot. And so that becomes exponentially more problematic for a for sale by owner, because they're always going to be behind the 8 ball. Okay, so while they're busy trying to figure out how to coordinate showings and how to list their home, the interest for the slim amount of people driving by is going to diminish. Okay, so how do you find these guys? Well, you can certainly begin driving around your own neighborhood. I wouldn't go further out than a mile or two. You don't want it to be too inconvenient for you. But by default, you become the local expert, and that becomes your selling point. So don't be afraid to promote the fact that you live nearby, you know the neighborhood, and you can be over here at a moment's notice to answer questions for other realtors or other clients or what have you. You can also find them on Zillow. So if you go to Zillow, there is a for sale by owner section where you can find these homes and these clients, as well as Craigslist, as well as sites like for sale by owner. Okay, so the number one rule in real estate may be location, 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 but for us realtors, it's never run out of people to call. And these websites and sources of business kind of create that environment for you. All right, so what is it that you want to accomplish by going after for sale by owners? Well, you want to prove your value just kind of slowly but surely, right? So, and you want to build trust in that relationship, because I'm sure they've been approached by other realtors that promise to bring a buyer. And so that creates skepticism. Right? And they need to believe that they cannot get this done without you. All right, you also want to list the home. And then get a referral from them if they still want to list on their own, right? So maybe they still want to do this themselves, but maybe you impress them so much that their neighbor comes by and starts asking them questions and they refer you. Now the bonus is that, and this is I've seen as a pretty good tactic with other agents, is that maybe your first foot in the door is not to list the home, but they're going to need to go somewhere. So can you help them go purchase a home? And so, you know, if they know the pressure's off by you not giving them the hard sell on listing their home, this might be another opportunity. All right, so various resources to use with for sale by owners. So their phone number is a great way to be able to communicate. It's on the sign. You know, I'll go into some ways on how to do that in a second. RPR. If they are in a neighborhood where the data is plentiful with other homes that have sold, their individual property report from RPR is going to be very, very relevant. And I will bet you that the RPR suggested price is going to be much lower than what the current list price is. All right, TAR resources, or Texas Realtor Association. So lots of different resources on that website when it comes to marketing and why you should use a realtor, and all sorts of great things to target for sale by owners. Certainly the comps, right? So we have access to the MLS, they do not. And a well-priced home is what's going to move that home. Note cards. So if you do use note cards, don't forget to put your business card in there. And then sending them coming soons and open houses in the area gives them a sense of what's going on in the marketplace. So if you were a buyer and had their home to choose from, what other homes in the area would you also have the choice of, and how does that stack up to the for sale by owner home? So I've kind of outlined different interactions with a for sale by owner. So interaction one would be an in-person visit or video, text, or call, because you already have their phone number. All right, so you say something like, "Hi, Mr. Smith, I noticed you had your home for sale and it wasn't listed with an agent. I wanted to see if you needed any assistance. I live and work in the area as a realtor, and really wanted to see how I could help you, of course, besides bringing a buyer." Okay, so this is the introductory interaction. And ask, so how are you coordinating showings, if you don't mind me asking? How are you qualifying buyers? How are you getting the word out there that this home is even for sale? How did you come up with your price? So these 4 questions really hopefully create self-discovery with the client, and they'll either subconsciously or overtly tell you, "Well, I really haven't thought about that." And chances are they haven't. So this is subtly suggesting to them how you can provide value. All right, and then next, offer to do an open house. And there are contracts for this where you can just do you know, a one-day representation, if you will, and just hold their home open. And, you know, for gosh sakes, don't have them there. There's a lot, I mean, people will agree to this if they can stay there. You don't want that to happen. But if they are lacking exposure and they feel like an open house will help, which every single seller does, you might want to offer just a no strings attached. Can I hold the home open? Let's see, what kind of response we get. Okay, offer a seller's disclosure. All right, they need to do this just to keep themselves out of legal trouble, and chances are they haven't done one. So have one ready to give them. And offer to distribute any flyers that they might have. I mean, they may or may not have marketing material, but if they don't, maybe an option might be to create something for them. I wouldn't go overboard because they'll take advantage of you. But if they happen to have something that they want you to communicate, I'd offer to do that. And like I said, I mean, don't offer too much because they will take advantage of you for sure. All right, and then send a handwritten thank you note after you speak. Add them to your database. Again, don't forget to put your business card in there. So interaction 2, so they already have known you. They've talked to you 1 week later. Right, leave an RPR report of their home on the doorstep with a note that says, thought you might find this useful. How are things going? Okay, always leave a business card. Leave something that speaks to days on market. They are most concerned with how much time on the market their home is and price, just like everybody else. They want to sell it for the most amount of money in the least amount of time. And we have data that can help them. Okay, and just text them real quick. You stopped by, you left them something so that they're expecting it. All right, send a handwritten note. This is 1 week later. All right, interaction 3. Leave a quick CMA with solds, pendings, actives, and expires. So quick CMA versus a full-blown, 15-page document. I'm talking about the one-pager, right? So you're going to see actives on top, pendings in the middle, solds next, and expires. This will give them a flavor of what is going on. Text them that you stopped by, offer an open house again. Send a handwritten note. All right, interaction 4. Leave a sample of your marketing material for them. Make sure you put sample across it so that they can't use it. So this is where signing up for Breakthrough Broker comes in handy. It's all free. You just take a picture of the outside of their home, maybe, and create your own sample marketing material for them as if you are marketing the home. Okay, text them that you stopped by, send a handwritten note. And then every 2 weeks, follow up. Okay, send why use a realtor. So this is a document right from zip forms and the Texas Association of Realtor website. There's an actual one-pager that, gives bullet points on why someone should use a realtor. At this point, I mean, ask for the business directly. I mean, you've done enough for them. They know why you're there. Hopefully, it's not been an unpleasant experience. Just say, look, man, are you ready yet? I mean, let me know when you get tired of doing this because I'm here. You might want to send them a vendor guide. So if there's some things that need fixing in the home, send them a couple of recommendations for handymen and things like that. You might want to send them lender information in case they are buying a home next. So, I mean, preferably our lending information, but it doesn't matter. They're going somewhere and they might need a loan to secure that next property. And then more CMAs, because at this point, the market has changed and there are undoubtedly homes that have sold, fallen off the market, whatever. Just another opportunity to kind of provide them a real-time snapshot of what's going on in the market. All right, and then any notes about what's going on in the marketplace. Okay, and then you might want to send them any area open houses that they may be able to attend. So whether it's 2 blocks away or 2 miles away, they might have an appetite to go see the competition. They're not going to want to drive around. And so just go to the MLS and do a search for all the open houses coming up that weekend and send it to them. All right, so my final thoughts on for sale by owners is that, again, you could do a limited time listing. If they want to kind of test drive you, you might want to do a 30-day listing or a 60-day listing, whatever they're comfortable with, knowing full well that once you get in there and prove yourself, if it needs to be extended, they're going to do that. But just something that takes the pressure off of I want to lock you in for 6 months type of deal. You might consider charging a flat fee. So remember I said earlier that if cost is a concern, you don't have to charge them the normal 6%. Maybe you charge the buyer's agent 3% or 2.5%, and you take a flat fee of $2,000. I don't know, whatever you think is appropriate, depending on the price of the home, just so that they feel that they're getting a deal. You do have the latitude to do that. And then there are contracts specifically for sale by owners that ensure you get paid. They are typically the agreement between broker and owner. If it's not officially listed in the MLS, there are, again, documents and contracts that will ensure that what you're doing, you get compensated. Be persistent and consistent. A lot of people want for sale by owners and expired listings, but they don't go the extra mile. All right, and really 2 attempts each week, 2 separate attempts to 2 separate for sale by owners should really net you 4 listings per year, just by doing the math. And there's going to be more of these as time goes on. All right, and remember that they're really ultimately paying for the convenience of you doing everything that they're having to do right now. And Americans are famous for paying for that service. Okay, if they weren't, there'd be no valet car service in front of shopping malls. People are willing to pay you to be less inconvenienced. All right, and then don't be afraid to call out exactly what you can help with. Because they're going to be sitting there thinking, well, I can do this all by myself. And you need to articulate sometimes that you're going to help with showings, pricing, qualifying buyers, making sure everything's safe, all that. Okay. So any questions or concerns on for sale by owners?
Brad, I have a question about it.
Yep.
Is there a way to have a different agreement with a lister? As I recall, there is, but I don't know if we allow that in our brokerage, where it's not an exclusive right to sell. So if they have, they only pay you if you bring the buyer, as opposed to if they find the buyer. Is that an option?
That is an option. Yep. And that is a great point, Becky, because they may still want to retain some control. Unless a neighbor approaches them, they're not going to be selling that home. But yes, you can absolutely do that where, okay. Yep, if you bring the buyer, it's 3% or whatever. If they bring it, it's I would still charge them something because you're going to want to navigate the contract process. But yeah, definitely.
Okay. Great, thanks.
So in case you haven't figured out, I've been talking about the shift in more homes being listed and our need for attention to sellers. And so with the exception of my conversation today about open houses, a lot of this is about sellers. So let's talk about how you can tell people are moving. Okay, there are repair trucks parked outside. So look for, the ubiquitous white van or white pickup truck, or a flatbed attached to a pickup truck. They're painters or whatever. That's usually a sign that people are moving. Garage sales. So there's only 2 reasons why people have garage sales. Either they're legitimately decluttering or they're moving. And it's usually they're moving. And so these are great opportunities, especially as the weather improves, for you to just kind of wander around and ask questions about whether or not they're moving. Obviously, if the home is vacant, telltale sign. List of non-owner occupied. So we're going to look at that in Remine, but that is another great source of people that are looking to move. And weekends are ideal for kind of just, walking around garage sales and making sure that, those telltale signs that people are moving are out there. All right, so let's talk about Remind a little bit. So I actually have a video on our website that explains Remind. If you go to how-to videos, the last 3 are about Remind. The first 2 are done by instructors at Remind. This one, Remind Overview, is me. Okay, so everyone has access to Remind. How you get to it is different, perhaps. You can get to it through the MLS primarily, but here's what you look at, or what you're looking at when you come to Remind. You want to go to search, and you may have noticed that it went from listing to properties. Right? You want to be on properties, and what this is this is the electronic version of farming. What's farming? Farming is choosing a neighborhood to focus your sales efforts on and prospecting efforts. And when the market was balanced, it was convenient to enlist the help of a mail house and send out postcards and things of that nature every month to these people in the neighborhood. Well, challenge is that we're all overstimulated when it comes to what we get in the mail. And so postcards don't necessarily work as well as they used to. And because the market has gone crazy, the amount of people that those mail pieces get to that may have already just moved in is a waste of your time and money. And so you want to find the people in that neighborhood that are truly motivated to the best of your ability to know, so that you can go market to them. All right, so instead of spending $1,500 a month hoping that someone calls you, wouldn't it be better to know with an 80% assurance rate that maybe the 4 or 5 people in that neighborhood that you find here are the motivated ones? All right, so yes, you would want that to happen. So let's just go into this. So you're at like 30,000 feet right now. You want to turn these dots of numbers into individual homes. Let me just kind of zero down until I get to that. So I'm just expanding. Let's go here. This is a good number, 357. All right, bingo. So each of these dots is a platted piece of property, typical cookie cutter subdivision, right? This is everybody here. You can also draw a map, or I'm sorry, a circle around this, polygon, square, whatever. So if you really wanted to zero down to your specific neighborhood, let's say you lived in this dot and you wanted to specifically target the 4 or 5 streets in your area, well, you could draw a shape around that and do that. But for demonstration purposes, let's just stick with this. And you want to, now mind you, if you were in listings, none of these icons would show up on the left. Okay, so you want to make sure you're in properties. So we're going to get the seller score in a second. But I mentioned absentee owner before. And you can do that with this little icon here. And so let's click on that. So let's say you want to target absentee that live in state and absentee out of state. That means out of all these homes, person doesn't live there. So why is that important? Because chances are that they're a landlord. And if they're not a big company that has snatched up hundreds of these homes, they might be getting sick of being a landlord. And you can apply that, which we'll do. And out of all those homes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So can you see that it's going to be easier to target these 6 homes than just blindly throwing stuff at the wall, hoping it'll stick? Okay, so you're going to market to these folks differently than people that are looking to sell their home. But That being said, there are obviously multiple types of people that you can go after in these subdivisions. Let's get rid of this for a second. Let's go back to all the dots. And we're going to go into something called seller score. Now, you know how whenever you're on a website and you click out of that website and you go to some other website and all of a sudden ads come up for the website you were just on? Well, all that information is out there, and Remine is no different. And so as you're sitting at your computer right now, that computer has an IP address. And as that IP address is searching sites like Zillow and insurance companies and mortgage companies, and generally indicating that you are looking to make a change in the real estate industry, that information is captured. And through an algorithm, Remine assigns you a seller score. And that is either low, medium, or high. And that matches up with the likelihood of you being motivated enough to want to go sell your home. So let's look at high score and apply that. All right, so now, and you can decrease this, 1, 2, 3, 4 right now, 5. And let's just zoom out a little bit. There's even more. There's a whole cluster of them right here. All right, and that's just from a high seller score. So all these homes pop up here, so that you can take a look at them. Now look, you are going to come across some that are active already. Obviously, those aren't who you're looking for. This one closed, closed, closed. Okay, you're looking for ones that are off market, like this one. Have a high seller score, 363,218. That's about the estimate of what Remine thinks it could sell for. So don't get discouraged for all those ones that we saw up top. Okay, so let's click on this real quick. It's here that you can see anything about this home. Look at that. That is a great looking home. 1 story, 1,500 square feet, built in 2016. And you can see everything about this home. And the most important thing you can see is who owns it. Property history is here, and that's great, but you can go down even further and go into owners and associated people. So this used to be for a charge, and now they give this to you. So you can look up the owner here. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. So there might not be any contact information there. Here we go. Here's some for this person. So Lindsay Dill, she has 2 phone numbers here. They are on the do not call list, so you don't want to call her, but they do have an email address that you might reach out to. That's just a bonus. You know the address. You know that they've been looking. So I would pay them a visit. And so farming becomes a heck of a lot easier when you're visiting 3 or 4 or 5 homes versus 350 homes that really aren't motivated. Okay, so you can add 3, 4 people to your database a day if you wanted to. I would shoot for 5 a week of these guys. Something's going to stick because they're already indicating that they're on websites that suggest that they're going to move. Okay, and if they're not, that's cool. They have your information. Maybe they know someone who is, and all of a sudden you have a referral from the neighbor. That happens all the time. And this is just one subdivision of 350 homes that I whittled down to, I don't know, 20. And half of them aren't even legit because they're homes that have already closed. So 10. Okay, great list of homes to go to. Okay, so any questions on Remine? So what do you bring? You're going to bring, see if I have this. No. Okay, so here's what you bring. Don't overthink it, man. It's short and sweet. It's simple. You're only there to figure out if they're looking to sell. So if you knock on the door, God bless you. If the answer, you might have one on the hook. But if they do not, bring a manila envelope with these things included. Bring your one-page resume that we already have filled out for you online under marketing. Bring a list of comps in the area. So actives, pending, sold, and bring their property report from RPR. It's a 10-pager mini property report. And that's it. Sticky note on top, and business card, of course. Sticky note on top. Thinking of selling? Please call me. You know, leave it on the doorstep. Maybe they'll call you, maybe they won't. But I have a follow-up plan that I'll kind of show you in a second where you can continue to follow up with them. That person's phone number may have been on the do not call list, but that doesn't mean do not text until they tell you. Okay, so eventually you want to have a face-to-face where you get an answer to the question, are you going to move? You know, what are your plans? Okay, any questions on Remind before I move into open houses? Okay, so open houses, they are back. Okay, we thought we had a tough time with COVID, no one having open houses. Well, then all of a sudden the market took off and no one needed an open house. Well, they are back, and there's lots of them. And so how do you get them? So you're going to want to search, and I'm going to do this in a second. So search in the MLS by your zip code for active listings. Okay, so again, geography. Look for those where the agent that's listing the home doesn't live near you. All right, and then call that agent and ask them to host that home. Okay, now counterintuitive to what you might think, listing agents, especially if they live far away, certainly do not want to do an open house. Every one of their sellers wants them to do an open house. So that's where you come in. Okay, you're gonna have to call about 10 of them to get one person to agree to have you do it. All right, you want to start Monday and wrap this up by Wednesday for that upcoming weekend, or you're not going to have enough time. And that's because only the listing agent can put that open house into the MLS. So let's go and go through this exercise. So if you are from El Paso or San Antonio, your screen won't look like this, but for DFW, Austin, Houston, it will for the most part. So let's do a detailed search for just actives. And let's do my zip code. There's 54. Let's bring up the results and just start going one by one. Arrow down. This is a great one. This person lives in Lillian, Texas. I don't even know where that is, but it's a 76061 zip, so that's way west of us. So this would be a great one to call. It's also been on the market for 27 days. They are ripe to do an open house. So I'm going to call Carolina Van Vliet and ask her if I can hold that home open. So today's Thursday, so it's too late. I need to get this on the market. I need to have done that Monday, and they've done a price decrease. So they are really probably just dying for someone to hold this open. Okay, so that is what you do. Now, I mentioned earlier for sale by owners and bringing them a list of open houses. So where would you get that? Search, more, open house. Okay, so if there is an open house going on, it's going to be in the MLS. And just click this little calendar and say, show me everything from Saturday to Sunday. Okay, there's 2,000 of them. Let's just do public, and let's do Me again, there's 9. And here's where they all are. And none of them, at least at first glance, look like they're builders. Berkshire Hathaway, DFW Megan Realty, Keller Williams, West Residential, Ebby Halliday. These are all open houses happening this weekend. Okay, so you can see why a Fizbo might find this, valuable. But just in case you were wondering where they are, that's where they are. So an agent went in here and posted this. This then went out to Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, and all the other thousands of websites that are affiliates of all of those websites. And you're going to get most of your traffic from people driving around and people looking on Zillow. So that's why it's important to get this wrapped up by Wednesday and have that thing in the MLS so that people can plan their weekend. Okay, so this is not rocket science either. I have a deeper dive on our website on how to do an open house under business building. And if you want to, be an elite agent and do everything right, it's all right here. But let's face it, all you're doing is opening up the door, making sure the lights are on, and being there to entertain questions. So what does that mean? You got to have an awareness of the property. So you're going to want to print out a copy of comps and the MLS listing of the home. And there is a version for the customer so that you can answer questions about square footage, kind of flooring, all that good stuff, or the dimensions of the room, what schools does it feed into? You're not going to know unless you have that in front of you. So don't do this unless you're prepared to do that. But this business of, baking cookies and having refreshments out, that comes later after you've done a couple of these. You're looking to get clients. So be there with information, answer questions, have all the lights on. Don't look at your phone, be present. And give them the freedom to look around the home. And once they're leaving, just ask, hey, what do you think? Does this fit your needs? Are you working with a realtor? Are you working with someone that is sending you these listings on a regular basis? No? Awesome. Come on over here real quick. Let me get your information. I'll start sending you these things. And by the way, take a look at these comps that I have printed out. This one's actually a street over. Does this look like something you might be looking for? It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, square foot, price right? Yeah, okay, well, I'm done here at 4. Why don't I make an appointment for us at 5 and I'll take you over there. That's it. That's the end goal. Okay, and if it doesn't go that far at that point, that's someone to add to your database. And you're gonna follow up, maybe that Tuesday or Wednesday based on that interaction. Okay, but once they're there, they're low-hanging fruit. All right, any questions on open houses? All right, let's go to expired listings. Expired listings you can get from doing a search. See, I always say that the real estate industry and the MLS companies must think that expired listings are worth going after, or they wouldn't put a checkbox here to go after them, right? So let's just for grins see how many there are. So in our entire MLS, there's almost 1,800 of them. So that tells you something. So let's just go back to 30 days. 678. Let's go to my zip code. 2. All right. So there are at least 2 in the past 60 days. And you know what? 2 might seem like embarrassing, like, okay, well, why aren't there like 22? 2 is good. 2 is manageable. You don't want 22. You want a manageable number to be able to go after. And so, take a look at these and figure out why they may not have sold. The chances are they were priced incorrectly or the pictures are horrible. Right, and so this thing was on the market for 42 days with United Real Estate. They are a discount brokerage. There probably wasn't a whole lot of attention paid to this listing, and they wanted to sell it for $649.5. I don't know if that's the right price or not, but you're going to help them figure that out. The next one was, started at 2.3, went down to 2.1. That didn't sell either, obviously. Don't be afraid to go after these high price listings. Okay, but you kind of get the idea. This is just one zip code. All right, so what do you do with expired listings? All right, the $1 million question is, with an expired listing, are you going to relist this home? Now, this will be after you cross-referenced to make sure that it wasn't already relisted, because that is possible. It will show up in the list I just created and could still be relisted, okay, because it's two different statuses. So you're going to need to cross-reference to make sure it's not still listed. All you're trying to do is figure out, what are your plans? You're going to relist it? And if so, can I interview for that job? Right, so you're going to want to search within 5 miles of your zip code. Avoid calling and sending letters, because everyone does this. Okay, if you can narrow it down to between 2 to 10, you're going to want to go visit them. And so what are you going to bring? Again, 1-page resume, comps, RPR report of their home. Okay, they are not ticked off with realtors. I guarantee you. I have had lots of experience with expired listings, never had a door closed in my face. They are beat down by the process. And chances are, if it was overpriced, then that realtor ran for the hills the last 2 weeks of that listing because they didn't want to face the music. And so you're there as a separate, fresh set of eyes to provide guidance and opinion on why it may not have sold and how you can help them. And again, on our website under business building, have an entire library of resources by which to work with expired listings. Again, it is not rocket science. You're there to list their home, and you just want to find out if they still want to list their home and what went wrong. Okay, so I want to redirect your attention to something that we have that you may not realize exists, because the cornerstone to success in real estate is follow-up. And on our website, under business building, which is where I am, there is, almost at the bottom of the page, this link right here that says blueprint for follow-up, how to follow up with all sources of business. And this is what I have up here. So I'm going to do a video coming up for one of my Monday morning motivationals that really just drives this point home. But you can't stop at one touch. I mean, it is going to take anywhere from 10 to 15 touches with one customer for them to even give you the time of day. So in real estate, if you try something like expired listings or for sale by owners, you have got to give it a year, a solid year of really jumping in all in. You can't just kind of do it half-heartedly. And if it doesn't work after a year, then I would really reassess how you're approaching that source of business. Because as I've mentioned before, whenever you open up any realtor magazine that is issued to us and there's an article about how to get business, no one ever says, spend $10,000 a year on this great new piece of technology. It is always sphere of influence, database management, for sale by owners, open house, everything that speaks to building relationships. Okay, and so that is hard work and that takes time. So that being said, don't you need a follow-up plan to make sure that you're staying top of mind? And so that's kind of what you're looking at here. Across the horizontal bar there is the traditional sources of business, your sphere of influence, expired listings, open houses, so on. On the left-hand side is what to give them, because I think that a lot of us kind of sit back and say, well, I don't know what to follow up with. And so on the left-hand side are examples, and there are 4 pages of examples in this document. So these are just thought starters, right? The X's represent who these individual things go to most logically. Okay, so as an example, you're not going to give a vendor booklet to someone that goes to an open house, but to an expired listings you might, because they're looking to sell their home. Okay, so this is the what to send and who to send to, and it goes on forever. So you should have plenty of ideas here. Next in the document, I outline the methods of communication. So why are there some in bold and some aren't? The one in bold are the ones that are most effective. So mail gets tossed. Email might go to spam. Phone, no one answers the phone. You know, but video, email, in-person visit, text, video text, instant messaging, that is going to be open. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind sending a piece of email to somebody. You just got to make sure it gets opened. And so for expired listings, as an example, if you're just getting nowhere, what I've had luck with, and you may not be able to see this, but go to the post office. You know, I know it's blurred, but these are free. Go to the post office and get an express priority mail flat envelope. And you don't need to spend that $9 to send it, although if you did, you'd be darn sure it gets opened. But put whatever you're going to put in there and leave it on their doorstep. I mean, it screams level of urgency, right? So again, I don't mind any of these vehicles, but your goal is to have whatever you're putting out there gets consumed. Okay, so the ones in bold I find are just the better ways to go. And then lastly, how frequently am I following up? You know, where's the line where I'm not bugging them? And so as an example, expired listings, you know, I mean, you're going to hit them up on day 1, certainly. You're going to follow up on day 3, day 7, day 14, day 21, and then every 14 days after that. Okay. You want to strike a balance between being pushy and staying top of mind. And then at the very end, I have written out, well, what's the end goal here? You know, with each of these sources of business, what am I trying to achieve? What does success look like? Okay, as you're kind of reaching out to these guys on various intervals. Right. So if you do this now in August, you very well may enjoy the surge of business that comes in real estate in the back half of the year. Okay, this week and next week, kids are going back to school. I don't know about y'all, but my neighborhood is dead. I mean, there is no activity going on. People are sending their kids back to school. Come September, after Labor Day, there is a huge surge of transactions. You will likely enjoy that if you do some of this stuff now. However, what you're trying to also do is tee up who may reach out to you come spring. Now, the slowest month of the year is typically January, maybe February. Let's assume you do no business then. Not likely, but let's just assume that's the case. If you have been steadfast from August through February in targeting your sellers, you're going to get business come March, April, May. It's just a given. So assume that everything that you're going to do between now and then, you're going to hear crickets. No one's going to say anything to you. But slow and steady wins the race. Come April, you're going to get business. Okay, so there's no better time than the present to start this stuff. So anyway, I think that was it. Yeah, I just wanted to review the follow-up plan. So any questions or concerns or hiccups, experience on your own that y'all want to contribute? Okay, if some of this stuff is not part of your normal business practice and you want it to be, I could talk to you all day on it. Okay, I know this stuff inside and out. Please set up some time. even if it's not a regular coaching session, maybe it's just kind of a reset. And we can talk about it. It's not difficult to navigate. The most difficult part is getting started, and I can definitely help you with that. Okay. And so I did have a question. Will this be saved? Yes, it will. So everything that I've said today recorded. I'll send that out once we get done. But all right. So anything else for today? No. All right. Well, listen. Remember, no one's in your corner more than Brad Anderson.
Hey, Brad, I've got a new listing that's probably going to be coming up next week.
Yep.
And it's going to be an owner finance listing. So
Exclusively, or if someone had a lender, could they?
No, exclusively. It's an investor that owns the home outright, and he's looking to basically be the lender on it.
Got it. And make some money. Yep.
Yeah, but basically it's going to be a fully RMLO deal. He's already engaged an RMLO to fully approve the buyer and everything. But as we were talking, I was thinking anybody with a freshman about to start school in University of North Texas or Texas Women's University, this might be a good thing to look into. Put your kid in there and rent out the other 2 rooms. You can probably just about cover the mortgage. It's probably definitely going to be cheaper than housing, if because there is no housing up in Denton right now for students. So
right. Yeah, I can attest to that. Yeah, that's true. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. All right, guys. Well, that's it. Hope you enjoyed the rain yesterday, if you were lucky enough to get some, and stay cool. And next week is our CE class. So I have reached out to Allegiance Title to get a flyer going to sign up for that and pay or whatever, but that'll be next Thursday. But otherwise, you guys have a great rest of the week. And
Brad, I have a question about that CE credit. Do they send us something when we sign up for that and pay? Are we supposed to get something back from them? Because I haven't got anything from the last one. I didn't know if it was just they send it automatically to the state, or do we get something, or how does that work?
They send it automatically off. So that's a great question. So if you want to look yourself up, anybody on Trek, and the first thing after all of your contact information is going to be all of your most recent education. That should pop in. It should be in there. So that's why they capture our license number and all that on the call if they don't have it already, because they report all that to Trek.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yep. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, guys. We will see you next Thursday. Have a great rest of the week.